Clara had never been to the countryside before. The city was her home, with its crowded streets, flashing lights, and constant noise. But this weekend, she was visiting her uncle's ranch for the first time. She had always been curious about country life, about wide open spaces, animals, and a slower pace of life. Her uncle, a quiet, wise man who had spent his whole life tending to his land and animals, had invited her to spend a few days learning about the ranch. Clara was excited, but also a little nervous. She wasn't used to anything bigger than her small apartment, let alone fields filled with grazing animals. As the car turned onto the gravel road leading to the ranch, Clara felt her heart beat faster. On either side of the road, tall, green fields stretched endlessly, dotted with trees and patches of wildflowers. A few cows grazed lazily near a wooden fence, their tails swishing back and forth. In the distance, she could see a large barn, its red paint slightly faded, but still sturdy, standing proudly in the sun. The smell of fresh earth and hay filled the air. It was different from anything she had ever experienced, and she felt both thrilled and slightly overwhelmed. Her uncle, James, greeted her at the gate. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a calm, steady voice. His face was weathered by years of sun and wind, but his eyes held a quiet warmth. "Welcome to the ranch, Clara," he said, smiling. "I'm glad you came." Clara smiled back, feeling a little more at ease. The first few minutes were spent walking around the main yard. Clara noticed the chickens pecking at the ground, the faint sound of horses whinnying from a distance, and a few dogs that barked as they ran to greet her. "It's a lot different from the city, isn't it?" James said, noticing the way Clara's eyes darted from one animal to another. She nodded eagerly. "Yes, it's beautiful. And big," she admitted. "Much bigger than I imagined." James chuckled softly. "Yes, some things here are bigger than they look. You'll get used to it." He led her toward the barn. "There are a few rules you should know before you start helping around here," he said calmly. "Always be patient with the animals, and don't try to rush anything. Some of them can surprise you if you're not careful. And remember, sometimes the best thing you can do is sit tight and stay calm." Clara listened carefully, intrigued by his calm confidence. Inside the barn, the air smelled strongly of hay and straw, mixed with the faint scent of animals. Several cows were resting in their stalls, while a horse shifted its hooves impatiently. Clara's eyes widened as she took it all in. She had never been so close to animals so large. One of the cows was enormous, its black and white coat shiny in the sunlight, streaming through the barn windows. "Wow," she whispered. "They're so big." James nodded. "Yes, and each one has its own personality. You have to treat them with respect and patience." He showed her how to move quietly and carefully, explaining that sudden movements could startle the animals. Clara tried to follow his instructions, feeling a little awkward as she walked among creatures so much bigger than herself. After showing her around, James suggested she try a small task, feeding a few of the smaller animals. Clara approached the chicken coop hesitantly. The chickens clucked and scrambled as she scattered the feed. At first, she was nervous, unsure if she was doing it right, but as she continued, she felt a small thrill of satisfaction seeing the chickens peck happily at the food she had given them. James watched her from a distance, his calm presence reassuring. "You're doing fine," he said. "Remember, patience is key. Don't rush, and don't be afraid to ask questions." Clara nodded, feeling more confident. She started to enjoy the rhythm of the ranch, noticing how every animal seemed to have its own pace, its own habits. She realized that life here was very different from the city, where everything moved fast and people were always in a hurry. As the afternoon went on, James suggested they take a walk around the pasture. Clara followed him along a dirt path, marveling at the expanse of land around her. The sun was warm on her skin, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh grass. In the distance, she saw a group of cows lying down under a large oak tree. One of them was enormous, much larger than the others. "That one is called Bella," James explained. She's calm, but very strong. Approach her carefully if you need to. And always remember what I told you, sometimes the best thing you can do is sit tight. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She had never been this close to such a large animal. She nodded, trying to absorb his words. Sit tight, she repeated to herself, as if saying it aloud would make her braver. James smiled at her, understanding the mix of excitement and fear in her eyes. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new experiences. Clara helped refill water troughs, carried bales of hay, and even learned how to groom one of the horses. Each task made her feel more connected to the ranch and to the animals she was helping care for. She began to notice small details, the way a cow's ears flicked, the soft nuzzle of a horse's nose, the clucking patterns of the chickens. It was a world completely different from her city life, and she found herself fascinated by every moment. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting golden light across the pastures, James suggested they head back to the main yard. Clara felt tired but happy, her muscles sore from all the walking and lifting, but her mind buzzing with the day's discoveries. She realized she had learned more about patience, respect, and the rhythm of life in a single day than she had in months back home. Before dinner, Clara sat on the porch, watching the animals settle for the evening. The cows lay down in the fields, the horses grazed lazily, and the chickens returned to their coop. The ranch was quiet now, filled with the soft sounds of nature. James joined her, carrying 2 mugs of warm tea. He handed one to Clara and sat beside her, his calm presence a comforting anchor. You did well today, he said. I know it was all new for you, but you handled yourself with patience. That's important here. Always remember, the ranch teaches you things you don't expect. Some of the biggest surprises come when you stay calm and observe. Clara nodded, taking a sip of her tea. She felt a mixture of pride and awe. She was beginning to understand the rhythm of the ranch, and she could feel herself growing more confident with every passing hour. As night fell, Clara went to her room in the small guest house on the property. She lay in bed, thinking about the day, the animals, the wide open spaces, and her uncle's calm words all replayed in her mind. She realized that being here was not just about helping with chores. It was about learning to slow down, pay attention, and respect the world around her. Clara drifted off to sleep with a mixture of excitement and anticipation for the days ahead. She didn't know what surprises awaited her, but she felt ready. The ranch was a place of wonder, of unexpected lessons, and of quiet strength. And she knew that, no matter what, her uncle's advice, sometimes the best thing you can do is sit tight, would guide her through whatever came next. The next morning, Clara woke up to the soft sounds of the ranch coming alive. Birds chirped in the trees, and a faint lowing of cows drifted from the pastures. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Clara felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today, her uncle had promised, she would get closer to some of the larger animals on the ranch. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she knew it would be an adventure. After a simple breakfast of fresh eggs, toast, and fruit, Clara followed her uncle out to the barn. The morning air was cool and fresh, carrying the smell of hay and earth. Clara noticed that everything on the ranch had a rhythm, how the animals moved, how her uncle worked, and even how the wind seemed to whisper through the fields. It was a world so different from her usual city life, yet she found it peaceful. Her uncle stopped near one of the larger pens and gestured for Clara to look. Today, he said, you'll help with Bella. Clara's eyes widened. Bella was the enormous cow she had seen the day before under the oak tree. She remembered her uncle's calm words from yesterday. Sometimes the best thing you can do is sit tight. Clara nodded, trying to steady her nerves. James led her slowly to the fence. Bella is gentle, but she's big, stronger than you might expect, he said. Approach her slowly. Let her see you. Speak softly. And most importantly, remember, don't panic. Stay calm. Clara nodded again, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. She had never been this close to an animal so massive, and a part of her worried about what could happen. They entered the pen, walking slowly on the soft ground. Bella lifted her head and looked at them with big, dark eyes. Clara felt her heart beat faster. She extended her hand cautiously, just as her uncle had shown her, and spoke softly. "Hello, Bella," she said. The cow sniffed her hand, then seemed to accept her presence, lowering her head slightly. Clara exhaled, feeling a small rush of relief. James watched her with a calm smile. "Good. Now, you'll help guide her while I check the others," he said. "Remember what I told you. If anything feels strange or sudden, just sit tight and don't make any sudden movements." Clara nodded, determined to follow his instructions exactly. At first, it was simple. Clara walked beside Bella, holding the lead rope loosely in her hand. The cow moved gracefully, despite her size, and Clara began to feel more confident. She noticed small things: the way Bella's ears twitched, the gentle swish of her tail, and the way her hooves pressed into the soft earth. It was fascinating to watch an animal so large move with such calm strength. But as the morning went on, Clara began to notice something unusual. Bella stopped suddenly and looked toward the back of the pen. Ears perked. Clara followed her gaze and saw a shadow moving near a stack of hay bales. Before she could react, Bella shifted slightly, and Clara realized she had stepped onto a loose piece of straw that tilted under her foot. She stumbled, gripping the lead rope tightly. "Stay calm," James called from a distance. His voice was steady, comforting. Clara remembered his advice and forced herself to stop moving. She took a deep breath, trying not to panic. Bella remained still, her large eyes watching Clara carefully. Clara's muscles were tense, but she kept her focus on remaining calm. It was a slow, careful process, but Clara began to regain her balance. She realized that the key was not to fight her fear, but to acknowledge it and stay calm. She adjusted her footing and held the lead rope more steadily. Bella seemed to sense her composure and remained gentle, moving only when Clara signaled her. Clara felt a small surge of pride. She was learning, step by step, to handle the unexpected. After a while, James returned. "You're doing well," he said, his calm voice carrying reassurance. "Bella can sense fear, so staying composed is very important. Most people underestimate how much animals notice." Clara nodded, understanding that this experience was about more than just controlling the animal. It was about trust and patience. Encouraged, Clara continued to guide Bella around the pen. She began to notice other things: the way the sun reflected on Bella's coat, the rhythm of her breathing, and even the soft sound of her hooves against the ground. Clara felt a strange connection with the cow, a sense of respect and admiration for the gentle strength she represented. But just as she started to feel completely confident, something unexpected happened. Bella shifted again, and this time, Clara felt the ground tilt beneath her more noticeably. She looked down and froze. There, under her, was a small, hidden depression in the earth that she hadn't seen before. Before she could react, Bella's hooves pressed near it, causing the ground to sink slightly. Clara's heart raced. She remembered her uncle's words. "Sit tight." Clara planted herself firmly, gripping the lead rope, and tried to remain calm. Her mind raced, but she focused on her breathing, counting slowly in her head. The minutes felt longer than usual, and she realized just how important her uncle's advice was. If she had panicked, she might have lost her balance or startled Bella. By sitting tight, she gave the cow the chance to remain calm as well. After a tense moment, Bella stepped carefully away from the depression, and Clara felt the ground stabilize beneath her. Relief flooded through her. She laughed nervously, realizing how close she had been to slipping or being caught in an awkward situation. James approached her with a knowing smile. "See? Sometimes the biggest surprises come when you least expect them," he said. "And that's when staying calm makes all the difference." Clara nodded, feeling both exhausted and exhilarated. She realized that working with animals wasn't just about physical strength. It was about patience, awareness, and respect. She had faced her fear, learned to control her reactions, and come out of it with a new understanding of the ranch and the animals she cared for. As the day continued, Clara guided Bella through several small tasks, moving her from one pen to another, helping her drink water, and even brushing her coat. Each task presented its own small challenges, but Clara found herself growing more confident. She learned to anticipate Bella's movements, to read the cow's body language, and to act with calm authority. The bond between them grew stronger. With every step, by late afternoon, the sun was high in the sky, casting long shadows across the pasture. Clara and James took a break, sitting under a large tree near the barn. Clara felt proud of herself. She had come to the ranch nervous and unsure. And now, she had faced one of the largest animals she had ever seen. With courage and composure. "You did really well today," James said, handing her a bottle of water. "The important thing is to respect the animal and stay calm. Everything else will follow." Clara smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. She realized that the ranch wasn't just about chores or animals, it was about learning lessons that applied to life itself. As they walked back to the barn to finish their tasks for the day, Clara felt a sense of connection to the land, the animals, and her uncle. She had faced her first real challenge, and she had grown from it. She knew that the ranch would continue to teach her lessons, some small and some unexpectedly large, but she felt ready for whatever came next. That evening, as Clara sat on the porch watching the sunset, she reflected on the day. She thought about Bella, the hidden depression in the ground, and the importance of patience and calm. She understood that courage wasn't about rushing into situations blindly, it was about being aware, respecting what you couldn't control, and knowing when to hold still. She smiled, realizing that the ranch was teaching her more than she could have imagined. Clara went to bed that night feeling both tired and happy. She had faced her first big challenge with a large animal and learned an important lesson in staying calm and observant. She didn't know what other surprises the ranch had in store, but she felt ready. After all, the day had shown her that with patience, respect, and a steady heart, even the most unexpected moments could be managed, and sometimes they became the most memorable parts of the adventure. The next morning, Clara woke with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Yesterday had been a big step guiding Bella around the pasture, and learning to stay calm around such a large animal had been both thrilling and exhausting. Today, her uncle had promised her an even more hands-on task. Clara didn't know exactly what it would be, but she trusted him. James had a way of teaching through experience, often giving her small hints and letting her discover the rest on her own. After breakfast, they headed out to the barn. The morning sun cast long shadows across the fields, and the air was cool with the faint scent of fresh hay and soil. Clara felt more confident than yesterday. She had learned to move carefully, to observe the animals, and most importantly, to stay calm. But a small part of her still wondered if she was truly ready for whatever her uncle had planned. James led her toward a different area of the ranch, one she had not explored before. It was a section near the back pasture, where the land sloped gently and the grass grew taller. Clara noticed a large stack of hay bales and a few wooden platforms that looked like makeshift seating for the workers. "Today," James said with a calm smile, "you'll help with one of our more challenging animals. It's not dangerous, but it requires trust and patience." Clara nodded, gripping the strap of her bag nervously. She had been warned about Bella, and this new task sounded even bigger. As they approached, Clara saw the animal for the first time. It was enormous, much larger than any cow or horse she had ever seen up close. Its eyes were gentle, but there was an undeniable presence about it. Clara's heart began to race. She had worked with large animals before, but this one seemed different. James knelt beside her and spoke quietly. "Remember, Clara, sometimes the best thing you can do is sit tight. Stay calm and let the animal guide you. You'll be surprised by how well it responds." Clara took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She slowly approached the animal, just as James had instructed. Its massive body moved with grace, and Clara felt both awe and a tinge of fear. She extended her hand carefully, letting the animal sniff her before moving closer. It lowered its head slightly, as if acknowledging her presence. Clara smiled nervously, feeling a mix of pride and anticipation. James guided her to a wooden platform nearby. "Clara, you'll sit here for a moment," he said. "It will help the animal feel comfortable and give you a better perspective. Trust me." Clara hesitated, glancing down at the ground. The platform looked sturdy enough, but her imagination ran wild with possibilities. Could she handle sitting so close to something so massive? "Just sit tight," James repeated calmly. "Everything will be fine." Clara took a deep breath and sat carefully on the platform, keeping her hands steady on her knees. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The animal remained calm, its massive body resting peacefully nearby. Clara began to relax slightly, thinking that perhaps this task wouldn't be as challenging as she had imagined. But then, something unexpected happened. Clara felt a subtle movement beneath her. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but the sensation grew stronger. She shifted slightly, trying to adjust her balance, and suddenly realized that whatever was under her was moving too. Her heart raced, and she froze, remembering her uncle's advice. "Sit tight." Clara's mind whirled. She had prepared herself for large animals, but nothing had warned her for this. She looked down slowly, careful not to startle whatever was beneath her. At first, she couldn't see anything, just the wooden platform and the faint shadows of the morning sun. But then she noticed the subtle rise and fall, the gentle shift of weight. Something large was moving right under her. Panic threatened to take over, but Clara forced herself to breathe slowly. She reminded herself of all the lessons she had learned in the past 2 days. Stay calm, observe, and trust the experience of those who know the animals well. Her uncle's voice echoed in her mind. "Sometimes the best thing you can do is sit tight." Clara gripped the edge of the platform, her knuckles white, and tried to steady her racing heart. Seconds felt like minutes. The movement beneath her grew slightly stronger, enough to make her pulse quicken. Clara's eyes widened as she began to realize the true size of what was under her. It was enormous, much bigger than she had imagined, and yet there was something almost gentle in the way it moved. It wasn't aggressive, just surprising. James noticed her tense posture from a few feet away. He approached calmly, crouching beside her. "Clara," he said softly, "remember what I told you. Stay still. Don't panic. You're safe." His calm voice was like an anchor, and Clara focused on it. Letting herself regain control of her thoughts, she inhaled deeply, held it, and exhaled slowly, trying to stay steady. After a tense moment, Clara began to observe more closely. The animal beneath her was not dangerous, it was part of the ranch. A gentle giant that had somehow ended up in a position where it could support her weight. Her heart still raced, but she felt a mixture of relief and amazement. The platform had shifted slightly because of the animal, and now she understood why her uncle had insisted on patience. Had she panicked, she could have lost her balance or startled the creature. By sitting tight, she allowed everything to remain calm. Clara slowly reached out a hand to touch the massive body beneath her. The texture was firm yet warm, reassuring her that the animal was friendly and accustomed to human interaction. She laughed nervously, feeling a strange mixture of fear and joy. The experience was unlike anything she had ever imagined, being so close, yet safe, with such a massive presence beneath her. James smiled, watching her reaction. "See? That's the difference between panic and patience," he said. "You stayed calm, and nothing bad happened. The animal trusted you, and you trusted yourself. That's a lesson that will stay with you far longer than any chore or task." Clara nodded, realizing the truth in his words. She felt a newfound respect for the creatures on the ranch and for the wisdom her uncle shared. The next few minutes were spent observing and interacting carefully. Clara learned to read the subtle signals the animal gave, how it shifted weight, the gentle twitch of its ears, and the slight movements that indicated comfort or discomfort. She realized that every animal had its own personality, and understanding them required patience, attention, and calmness. As the morning went on, Clara's confidence grew. She learned to move slowly while remaining balanced on the platform, guiding the animal gently with her hands and voice. Each small movement built her trust in herself and in the creature beneath her. She began to understand that surprises, no matter how intimidating at first, could be managed with patience and awareness. By late morning, the tension had melted into curiosity and fascination. Clara felt proud of herself for handling the unexpected situation without panicking. She had faced one of the biggest surprises of her life, and she had learned a valuable lesson about trust, calmness, and observation. She realized that sometimes the most challenging experiences taught the most important lessons. James called her over as they prepared to leave the area. "You did really well today," he said, his voice steady and warm. "Not many people could have stayed so calm in that situation. You should be proud." Clara smiled, feeling a mix of relief, pride, and wonder. She had faced something unexpected, enormous, and surprising. And she had come through stronger. As they walked back toward the main yard, Clara reflected on the morning. She thought about how fear could make a small problem seem bigger than it was, and how staying calm could turn a potentially scary moment into a learning experience. She realized that the ranch was teaching her more than just how to care for animals. It was teaching her about life itself. By the time lunch arrived, Clara was exhausted but happy. Her muscles ached slightly from maintaining balance and careful movements, but her mind was buzzing with lessons learned. She understood that challenges were not obstacles to be feared, but opportunities to grow. Sitting tight, staying calm, and observing carefully had turned an unexpected moment into an unforgettable experience. That evening, as Clara sat on the porch watching the sunset, she felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. The fields were quiet now, filled with soft sounds of animals settling in for the night. Clara realized that she had grown in courage and patience in ways she hadn't anticipated. She knew that the ranch had many more surprises in store, but she felt ready. She had faced something truly unexpected today and had learned to remain calm, observant, and respectful. Clara went to bed with her mind full of reflection and wonder. She had learned that sometimes, the biggest moments came when she least expected them. And she understood, more than ever, that staying calm and sitting tight, just as her uncle had advised, was the key to navigating even the most surprising situations. She drifted off to sleep, eager to see what the ranch would teach her next. The next morning, Clara woke to the soft sounds of the ranch stirring. Birds were singing, the cows were lowing in the distance, and the faint scent of hay filled the air. After the experiences of the previous day, she felt both excited and nervous. She knew that today would be another challenge, perhaps even bigger than before. Her uncle had hinted that she would learn one of the most important lessons of all, but he never gave specifics. Clara trusted him, but a part of her couldn't help feeling curious and a little anxious. After a simple breakfast, Clara followed her uncle toward the barn. The morning sun was warm on her skin, and a gentle breeze rustled the tall grasses in the fields. Clara noticed how the ranch had a rhythm, animals moving, the wind blowing, her uncle walking steadily beside her. She felt a quiet, calm, a growing confidence from the lessons she had already learned. Still, there was a sense of anticipation. Today's task felt like it would be the most important so far. James led her to a section of the ranch she hadn't seen before. This area was near a wide pasture, partially shaded by a row of oak trees. Clara noticed a few wooden platforms scattered around, similar to the one she had used the day before. Her uncle stopped near one of them and gestured for her to sit. "Clara," he said calmly, "today, you'll see something big. You've learned patience and calmness, but now you'll put both to the test. Just remember what I told you. Sometimes, the best thing to do is sit tight and trust the situation." Clara nodded, trying to steady her nerves. She slowly climbed onto the platform, her hands gripping the sides carefully. Below her, she could see movement, a subtle shifting that made her stomach flutter. It reminded her of yesterday, but today felt different. Today, she had a feeling the surprise would be even bigger. Stay calm, James said, crouching beside her. Everything is fine. The animal is familiar with this routine, and it trusts you. You just need to stay steady and let it guide you. Clara took a deep breath, focusing on her uncle's calm voice. She repeated the words in her mind. Sit tight. Stay calm. Trust the situation. She felt her heartbeat slow slightly as she tried to relax. Then it happened. The movement beneath her grew more noticeable. Clara froze, her hands gripping the platform tighter. Her mind raced with questions. What could it be this time? Was it bigger than yesterday? She remembered her uncle's words and forced herself to breathe slowly. Panic rose for a moment, but she focused on her breathing, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. As she sat there, she began to notice more details. The movement was smooth, controlled, and gentle. The animal beneath her wasn't restless or nervous. It was calm and deliberate. Clara realized that this creature had been trained, or perhaps naturally patient, to allow someone to be so close to it. Her heart began to slow as she observed it carefully, learning from its gentle confidence. James smiled at her from nearby. See, Clara? That's the difference between fear and understanding. You're learning to read the signs, to remain calm, and to trust what you can't control. Clara nodded, still gripping the edge of the platform, but feeling a growing sense of awe. She realized that the ranch wasn't just about physical tasks, it was about observation, patience, and respect. For several minutes, Clara stayed in place, watching and feeling the subtle movements beneath her. The animal shifted slightly, and she adjusted her balance carefully, never moving too quickly. She felt a strange connection, an unspoken understanding between herself and the gentle giant below. It wasn't scary anymore. It was incredible. She was experiencing the ranch in a way few visitors ever did, learning lessons that could only come from direct experience. Then, James spoke again. Clara, I want you to notice something important. This is more than just an animal. It's a test of your patience and composure. The bigger the surprise, the more important it is to stay calm. You're doing wonderfully. Clara took a deep breath, letting the words sink in. She felt a sense of pride, knowing she was handling the situation exactly as her uncle had taught her. Slowly, she began to move her hands over the massive body beneath her. The texture was firm and warm, reassuring her that the animal was friendly and accustomed to human contact. Clara laughed quietly, a mixture of nervousness and amazement. She had faced the unknown and realized that the situation wasn't dangerous at all. It was extraordinary. Minutes passed, and Clara grew more comfortable. She learned to anticipate the gentle shifts beneath her, adjusting her posture without panicking. The animal responded to her calm presence, staying steady and patient. Clara felt a rush of accomplishment. She had faced something enormous, something she could not have predicted, and had remained composed throughout. James stood back, observing her with pride. Clara, most people would have panicked long before this point. But you stayed calm. You listened. You observed. And you trusted both yourself and the situation. That's a lesson that will stay with you for life. Clara smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. She realized that the lesson was not just about animals, it was about life itself. Challenges could be intimidating, but staying calm and patient could turn a frightening moment into an incredible learning experience. Finally, after what felt like both a long and short time at once, James helped Clara off the platform. She stepped down carefully, her legs slightly shaky but her mind buzzing with pride and excitement. She looked back at the animal, feeling a mix of admiration and gratitude. It had taught her more than she could have imagined. The rest of the morning was spent interacting carefully with the animal. Clara learned to guide it gently, to move in sync with its rhythm, and to respond to its subtle signals. Each task reinforced the lessons she had learned. Patience, observation, calmness, and trust. She felt a growing connection to the ranch, to her uncle, and to the animals themselves. By the time the sun was high in the sky, Clara was tired but exhilarated. She had faced one of the biggest surprises she could have imagined, and had come through not just unharmed, but stronger and more confident. She understood that the ranch was full of lessons, many of them unexpected, and that each day brought a new opportunity to learn and grow. After lunch, Clara and James sat on the porch, watching the animals in the distance. Clara felt a sense of peace she had never known in the city. She thought about the morning, about how fear had tried to take over, and how staying calm had allowed her to experience something amazing. She realized that courage wasn't about rushing forward blindly. It was about awareness, patience, and trust. James sipped his tea and smiled at her. "You've grown a lot in just a few days, Clara," he said. "Not everyone can handle surprises like that. Remember, the lessons here aren't just about animals, they're about life. Staying calm, observing carefully, and trusting the process will carry you far." Clara nodded, feeling a deep sense of understanding. As evening fell, Clara walked through the fields, reflecting on the day. She thought about the gentle giant, the moments of fear, and the triumph of staying calm. She realized that this experience would stay with her forever, a memory of courage, patience, and discovery. She knew that the ranch had more lessons to offer, but she felt ready for whatever came next. That night, Clara went to bed with a sense of accomplishment and wonder. She had faced an enormous, unexpected challenge, learned to remain composed, and gained a deep understanding of both the animals and herself. She knew that the lessons of the ranch went far beyond chores. They were lessons about life, patience, and trust. She drifted off to sleep, eager to continue her adventure, and ready to face whatever surprises the ranch might bring next. The next morning, Clara woke to the gentle sounds of the ranch stirring once again. Birds sang from the trees, the cows lowed softly in the pastures, and the sunlight streamed through her window, painting golden streaks across the wooden floor. Today was her last full day at the ranch before she would return to the city, and she felt a mix of excitement and quiet reflection. Over the past few days, she had learned so much about animals, about patience, and about herself. She knew that today, more than any other, she wanted to savor every moment. After breakfast, Clara followed her uncle toward the main yard. The morning air was fresh, filled with the familiar sense of hay, earth, and animals. Clara noticed how comfortable she had become here, how her footsteps on the soft ground were confident, how she could move around the animals without fear, and how the rhythm of the ranch felt natural to her. She felt proud of how far she had come. James walked beside her, his calm presence always reassuring. "Clara," he said softly, "you've learned a lot in just a few days. The ranch is full of surprises, and sometimes the most important lessons come when you least expect them. Today, I want you to take a moment to reflect on everything you've experienced." Clara nodded, understanding that this wasn't just about chores or animals, it was about life, and learning to handle unexpected situations with patience and calm. The morning began with small tasks, but this time, Clara felt different. She carried water to the animals, refilled feed troughs, and helped groom the horses with a steady hand. She noticed how her movements were smoother, more confident, and how the animals seemed to respond to her calm presence. Clara realized that she was no longer the nervous newcomer who had arrived a few days ago. She had grown in confidence, awareness, and understanding. As the sun climbed higher, James suggested they take a walk to the back pasture. Clara followed him, eager to see the fields one last time. The gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of grass and wildflowers, and the sounds of the ranch were peaceful and familiar. Clara felt a sense of connection to the land, to the animals, and to her uncle, who had taught her so much through patient guidance and quiet wisdom. They reached the same area where Clara had faced the enormous surprise the day before. The wooden platform stood there, still sturdy and familiar. Clara looked at it and smiled, remembering the moment she had first felt something massive beneath her. Her heart raced a little as she recalled the fear and excitement she had felt. But now, it was mixed with pride and understanding. She had faced the unknown and had come through stronger and calmer than she ever imagined. James gestured toward the platform. "Go ahead, Clara," he said. "Sit here again and just take a moment to reflect. Let yourself think about what you've learned." Clara stepped onto the platform carefully, feeling the familiar texture beneath her feet. She sat down and took a deep breath, letting the calmness of the ranch wash over her. She thought about the past few days, the nervous arrival, her first experiences with Bella, the enormous surprise beneath her, and all the lessons she had learned about patience, observation, and trust. Clara realized that the ranch had taught her more than just how to care for animals. It had shown her how to face unexpected situations without panicking, how to pay attention to subtle signals, and how to stay composed when things seemed overwhelming. She thought about how easy it would have been to give in to fear, and how staying calm had allowed her to experience something truly remarkable. She smiled, feeling grateful for the opportunity and for her uncle's guidance. After a few quiet moments, Clara stood up and walked around the platform, observing the animals in the pasture. She noticed the gentle movements of the cows grazing, the soft nicker of the horses, and even the busy clucking of the chickens. Everything seemed connected: the animals, the land, and the people who cared for them. Clara felt a sense of harmony, a realization that life on the ranch, while challenging, was full of lessons in patience, respect, and understanding. James joined her, handing her a small cup of water. "You've done very well, Clara," he said with a warm smile. "You've faced challenges, stayed calm, and learned to trust yourself. That's something very few people experience in such a short time." Clara felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. She realized that her time at the ranch had changed her. She was no longer just a visitor. She had become a part of this world, even if only for a few days. They spent the rest of the morning finishing small chores together. Clara carried feed, helped move a few animals, and learned small tricks about reading their behavior. She noticed how much she had grown in confidence, how much her movements had become smoother, and how naturally she could communicate with the animals now. It was amazing to think that just a few days ago, she had been nervous and unsure, afraid of the simplest tasks. By midday, the sun was high, and the warmth of the day made the fields glow golden. Clara and James sat under a large oak tree, watching the animals rest and play. Clara reflected on her journey, how the initial excitement had turned into fear during the surprises, and how that fear had transformed into confidence through patience and observation. She realized that life, much like the ranch, could be unpredictable. But calmness and awareness could turn challenges into learning experiences. James spoke again, his voice soft and steady. "Clara, remember that the lessons you've learned here go beyond the ranch. Life will have its own surprises. Some big, some small. You'll face situations you didn't expect. The key is to stay calm, observe carefully, and trust both yourself and those who guide you. That's how you navigate challenges successfully." Clara nodded, understanding the depth of his words. She felt a quiet strength within herself, a confidence she hadn't known she possessed before. As the afternoon came, Clara helped gather the animals back toward the barn. She noticed how smoothly everything moved, how her calm presence seemed to reassure the animals, and how she could anticipate their needs. She smiled to herself, realizing that she had truly become part of the ranch's rhythm. The nervous, city-bred girl who had arrived a few days ago had transformed into someone confident, observant, and capable. When all the animals were settled, Clara and James walked slowly back to the guest house. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the fields. Clara felt a deep sense of peace, knowing she had faced fears, embraced challenges, and grown in ways she had never imagined. She reflected on the lessons she had learned: patience, observation, trust, and the importance of staying calm even when things seemed overwhelming. That evening, Clara sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. She thought about the moments of fear, the gentle giants she had worked with, and the lessons her uncle had shared. She realized that the ranch had given her more than just a temporary adventure. It had given her wisdom, confidence, and a new way of looking at challenges. Clara's heart was full of gratitude. She thought about her uncle's calm guidance, the animals' patience, and the beauty of the land. She understood that the ranch was more than a place, it was a teacher, a world where surprises could become lessons, and where courage and composure could grow naturally. She smiled, feeling a connection to the land, the animals, and herself that she would carry with her forever. As night fell, Clara prepared for bed, feeling tired but happy. She reflected on every moment, every lesson, and every surprise she had faced. She realized that the biggest lessons often came from the most unexpected experiences, and that staying calm and observant could turn fear into understanding and uncertainty into confidence. She felt ready for whatever challenges awaited her back in the city, knowing that the lessons of the ranch would stay with her for a lifetime. Before closing her eyes, Clara looked out the window one last time at the quiet fields, the resting animals, and the fading light. She thought about how far she had come from nervous arrival to confident participation, from fear to understanding. She smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. She knew that the ranch had taught her lessons she would never forget, and that her experiences here had made her stronger, wiser, and more patient. Clara drifted off to sleep with a heart full of peace, excitement for the future, and the quiet joy of knowing that she had faced challenges, stayed calm, and grown in ways she never imagined possible. The ranch had not only given her an adventure but also a life lesson that would stay with her forever.